Okay, I'm Yusuf Kudi. Then yes, check that. If it's not there, then file letter. We'll check file letter. Check the second one. That second one is which one?
Okay, let's do this.
I have one here.
Let's use this to announce.
Yes.
Okay. Let's use this to announce.
Titled The Role of School Counseling in Deterring Students from Being Juvenile Delinquent in the two functional government high schools in Bamenda, two subdivisions. Here in front of you is a panel or a jury that is instituted by the university. They are going to go over this work, do the corrections so that this work can be fixed in place of the shelves. Am I right? I also is to my left is Dr. Shaw has been hired by the institution to critically examine this work. Community, and then here sitting in for Dr. Ayoma is my humble Dr. Ten Protus. So we are going to give you 10 minutes to present your work, and then your supervisor will give him 2 minutes to tell 10 minutes on the work, and then we shall proceed, with deliberations and declaration of the results. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
I hope you are correct. You just have to say this one. Could you can go ahead?
Okay. The president of the jury, members of the protocols duly respected, my distinguished classmates, my beloved family here present, ladies and gentlemen, you are all presenting to you the thesis of the role of school counseling in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents in the two functional high schools in Bamenda 2 subdivision. The main purpose to examine the role of school counseling in deterring students from juvenile delinquents in Bamenda 2 subdivision. 4 research questions. Hypotheses were formulated, used to guide the study. A descriptive survey research design was adopted. A questionnaire made up of 20 close-ended items was constructed and administered to a sample of 578 students drawn from the accessible population of the two schools using the 1870 table. The data collected were analyzed by using a mean to answer the research t-test to test the hypothesis at a 0.05 level of significance. The findings revealed that school counseling not significantly prevents students from dual experience, although it is significantly prevented by school counseling. Based on the findings, some recommendations were made, such as counselors should be assigned to every classroom, teachers, counselors, and school administrators should know that they are the nation builders. They should do their best to mold the new generation. Statement of the problem: the rate of violence in the school milieu, cases of teachers being stabbed by students losing their lives in the hands of their mates, drug use in school premises, early sexual experience, sexual harassment and rape is no more considered deviant, but rather a privilege. And breaking of school rules and regulations is the order of the day. These happenings here and there incited the researcher who have witnessed some of these deviant behaviors himself during the teaching practice and internship in some schools, to carry out a study on the role of school counseling in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents in the two functional government high schools in Bamenda 2 subdivision. Objectives of the study. General objective: to examine the role of school counseling in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents. Specific objectives: to determine the extent to which school counseling can prevent students from breaking school rules and regulations. To explore the effectiveness of school counseling in deterring students from drug abuse. To find out the extent that school counseling can prevent students from early sexual experience. To investigate the extent that school counseling can prevent violent behaviors. Research questions: is there any significant role of school counseling in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents? To what extent does school counseling prevent students from breaking school rules and regulations? How effective is school counseling in deterring students from drug abuse? To what extent does school counseling prevent students from early sexual experience? To what extent does school counseling prevent violence among students? You have research hypothesis. The significance of the study. This study will be of great importance to students, teachers, guardians, counselors, school administrators, preparators, parents, cultural organizations, and the government. Students, they will come to know the danger of being juvenile delinquents and some deviant behaviors to avoid it through their teachers, guidance counselors, and school administrators, or by laying hands on this piece of work by themselves. They will then avoid deviant behaviors and internalize good manners and concentrate in their studies and become good citizens in the future. Teachers, these facilitators will be reminded through this work to be more creative, more imaginative, and use multiplicity of teaching methods so as to captivate the interests of all the learners during the teaching learning process. This will go a long way to bar the students from being juvenile delinquents. Guardian counselors, these technicians will realize after reading this piece of work their importance in the school milieu and will increase their efforts to do their best in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents. School administrators, after reading this work, they will give more room for counselors to do their work, collaborate more with them, which will go a long way to enhance the behavior of students and will boost the teaching learning process and will also increase their administrative skills and bar the way for students from being juvenile delinquents. Preparators, these stakeholders will enhance their relationship with students, parents, and teachers, and will see the importance of counselors in their institutions. This will pave the way of an environment conducive for teaching learning that will bar the way for students from being juvenile delinquents. Parents, these backbones of enculturation and moralization will come to know more about how to deter juveniles from being delinquents and their role to eradicate deviant behaviors among juveniles. They will help their children to overcome all deviant behaviors and become more social and good-mannered in class, school, and everywhere they are, which will lead to greater achievements and a vibrant community. Cultural organizations. After reading this piece of work, they will organize seminars and forums to educate and orient both parents and students on how to reduce juvenile delinquents and work hand in hand with school administrators and school counselors to eradicate deviant behaviors in school campus and deter students from being juvenile delinquents. The government who is the main stakeholder of education will realize after laying hands on this piece of work the importance of school counseling and its role in making students law-abiding, and that there is need for policy implementation and avoid political influence in appointing of discipline masters, principals, guidance counselors, so that experienced teachers and competent counselors are appointed to appropriate positions to better handle the prevailing problems among students. The scope of the study. Contextually, the study is delimited to two functional high schools in Bamenda 2, namely GBHS Bamenda and GBHS Downtown Bamenda. Conceptually, this study is delimited to the role of school counseling in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents among secondary school students. The conceptual framework. Many concepts related to the study were broadly discussed. Concepts like school counselor and school counseling, drug abuse and alcohol, early sex experience, juvenile delinquents. Other concepts related to the study that were discussed are violence, teenage pregnancy failure, truancy, pornography, sexting, sexual harassment and rape, gender, among other concepts that were discussed in the study. Theoretical framework. 8 theories were used in this study. The social learning theory of Albert Bandura, Carl Rogers' safe theory was discussed in relation to client-centered theory. Lev Vygotsky's social development theory, self-determination theory of Ryan and Deci, among others. The research design used, according to Copper and Schilder, 1998, a research design is a blueprint for fulfilling objectives and answering questions. The study was carried out using a descriptive survey research design. Orodo 2005 notes that a descriptive research survey design is an appropriate way of evaluating educational programs as educational activities operate in a social context. Thus, this design is a fact-finding study which involves collecting data directly from a representative sample of a population and generalizing the findings to the entire population. The researcher therefore uses the descriptive survey design where he collected data from a given sample. Area of study, already mentioned. Population of the study, sample and sampling technique. Yeah. Discussions of the findings. The findings reveal that school counseling does not significantly prevent students from breaking school rules and regulations, although its effect is positive. These revelations of the findings prove that much needs to be done about school rules and regulations, especially when formulating them. This is so because according to a research work conducted by S.R. Deto Anna 2018, Anna Maria 2018, reveals that the students are mostly not involved in the setting of school rules and regulations, even though they are willing to obey the rules and regulations. This is what she said. The findings of the study revealed that students were not adequately involved in the formulation of school rules and regulations, though they were highly involved in the implementation of the same. The findings further revealed that students were positive about school rules and regulations. They were willing to embrace them and seemed to recognize their instinctive value in day-to-day life and this discipline enhancement. The findings of Anna Maria 2013, if put into our context of the role of school counseling in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents, will imply that during the formulation of rules and regulations, the students should be involved. This is in line with the counseling cycle of counseling. A child is to sit, agree, and write with him not do's and the punishments. They say in this case the child does not feel being imposed or forced to do or not to do or being punished for nothing. students from from breaking school rules and regulations is to teaching them with students. This exercise will go a long way to make students first of all the rules and regulations. Then will feel the sense of belonging and be ready to work based on the rules and regulations, and will never want to break rules and regulations that they have formulated by themselves. Other relations to these findings were mentioned, like the one of Maxwell and Mwala 2018 on truancy. The findings of the question 2. The findings reveal that school counseling does not significantly deter students. Finding is in conformity with the study done by Muhammad Zaman et al. On drug abuse among students. It is also not easy for counselors to know drug users among the students because they go and hide themselves before taking them. Just by mere behavior, it is difficult to determine, even if some actions are clear signs of drug use. This is what they said about their study and findings. Drug abuse is an intense and often willful misuse of drugs. The overdue of substance or drugs lead to addiction. In the Eastern world, the incidence shows a decline or a static pattern, but the number of drug addicts is still enormous. The major abusive drugs are heroin and marijuana, but designer drugs, cannabinoids, have shown on the peak. The aim of the study is to determine the ratio of the drug abuse in students. For the purpose we selected different institutes, including 2 private universities and 2 government universities, and conducted survey in 500 students. High proportion of students was found abusing drugs. From this study, we came across multiple factors, which are the main cause of drug abuse in medical students, including depression, anxiety, peer pressure, as well as personality disorder. The most commonly abused drugs include stimulants, opioids, and other drugs. Although survey has indicated is high rate of illicit and illicit prescription drugs misuse among college students. Drug abuse regarded as a personality disorder also be seen worldwide epidemic with evolutionary genetics, physiology and environmental influence controlling and affecting human behavior, and so on. Another concept discussed in this study related to research questions 1 and 2 is failure. Failure in most cases leads to depression and truancy. Disobedience or breaking of school rules and regulations also lead to truancy and failure. These concepts are interconnected in such a manner that they are hardly separated. That's why they were discussed in the conceptual framework. Learners whose school's performance is too poor tend to choose risky outlets such as drinking alcohol, abusing drugs, fighting, and other antisocial behaviors to offset feelings of frustration. The discussion of findings in relation to research question 3, the findings under this question reveal that school counseling does not significantly prevent students from early sexual experience. Okay. To conclude, education will remain the best gift of life. Opportunities should be given to everyone to taste and exercise knowledge. Many youths have abandoned school due to the treatment they get from their teachers, parents, and peers. Many have been dismissed, not because they do not want to learn, but some circumstances have led them to take harsh decisions to compensate their weaknesses. Religious and culture are key values. Religions and culture are key values of every human being. Many studies in the West have proven that the more a student is committed to his or her religion, the more he or she excels in her academic career. This work reveals that school counseling does not now. I think recommendations were made for all the stakeholders of educational institutions. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Yusufu, for your presentation. We are going to hand you over to your supervisor, who is going to tell us how your working relationship was with you, and to throw more light on your work in case he has more to say to enlighten us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I work with Mr. YUSUF Kudi Bira, I think since he was handed to me very, very closely. We have gone a long way. In fact, we have changed, just to tell you that we have changed this topic, I think about twice. Because sometimes we had one topic, we brought it for the defense, and I can remember the criticisms on that day, because it was like he was focusing somehow on counseling in the Muslims, and it was like there was some controversy. So we adjusted the topic, and we later on adjusted the topic again. So, but I think that finally we landed on this one, and it was like he really had much to do, especially within this period when it's like all is not well within our society. We have to resort a lot to counseling. We have had to brainstorm so much. Sometimes we disagree on some of the things, but at the end of the day, so I think that he has done exceptional work. More when you go through, you will see that perfect work, because we don't have perfect work. We need to keep fine-tuning it. But I when I look at it, I feel that he has worked very, very well. I can say that with a lot of certainty. When you look at even his abstract is very, very informative. You look at even the manner of organization. I think the face value, just the face validity of the work, first of all, is okay to me. I think he followed the instructions which were given to him, and I'm glad that he's in front of you, and you will do the rest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner, for that brilliant presentation. But sorry, Supervisor, for that brilliant presentation of your candidate, your working relation, and the contents of the work. So, Mr. Kudi, here you work with your supervisor very well, but here is something the university has hired an expert to see whether the work meets the requirements of the higher education in Boston, right?
Okay.
So he's going to look at it with a critical eye. He's a devil's advocate. Many people don't like the examiner because he's the devil's advocate. Why is there to appreciate? He's there to bring up all the shortcomings that are inherent in the study. So, Mr. Examiner, I give you the floor. I give you not should you should not come assistant. But if it's exciting, we can go. We can proceed.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for giving me the chance. Mr. Yusuf.
Yes, sir.
Yusufu, thank you for the work. I would like to appreciate the effort put in place by you and your supervisor for us to have this work Again, the topic in itself is very interesting. It's a very interesting topic because it deals with a contemporary issue, an issue that's affecting our schools. We all are aware of students stabbing each other in school, stabbing teachers, all sorts of things happening in our schools, drug abuse, sexual promiscuity, and so on. So to have chosen a topic like this is worth appreciating.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we are going to take the first approach is just to look at the structure of the work, and then I'll ask you a few questions before we enter into the technicalities. So from the perspective of the cover page, the role of school counseling in deterring students from being juvenile delinquents, Again, you have to see, I know you and your supervisor, you have cracked your heads a lot to come out to arrive at this topic and work on it, but you still have to see how to reduce it.
Okay.
Reduce it. It's still too long, so you have to do that. Then immediately after that, you have a research submitted to the Bamenda University, of Science and Technology, but there should be a comma.
Okay.
Affiliated to the University of Chang, comma, before you proceed in partial fulfillment of the requirements.
We're doing it immediately. So you might still not forget.
So that grammatically your work is okay. Then at the level of approval, I don't know, there's a page approval, right? So at the level of approval again, you still have issues in relation to commerce. For example, after I hereby approve that the project entitled has been written by YUSUF Kudi Bira, a student of the BAMENDA University of Science and Technology. So it's okay, there should be that comma there. Then you go to the declaration. Declaration is the same thing. This is not my piece of work now. Declaration I, YUSUF Kudi Bira, are we there?
Yeah.
Very necessary so that your work is okay. And then department there should begin with uppercase. It's better that way.
Okay.
Good. Again, certification. We, the undersigned, the undersigned, So a number of such issues. There are those issues of editing.
Okay.
Then you go to the acknowledgements. It's good just that you have statements hanging. But again, I wish to express my profound gratitude to my Creator, the Almighty, for everything. English. Then you proceed. You after thanking your mother for supporting you spiritually, financially, and morally, you put a full stop. Then you start there, and to my father again, something wrong, right? Then and to my father who encouraged me, full stop. Then may the Almighty, So you should begin with the next step. Then I seriously appreciate my beloved wife, Queen, semicolon. Her name Queen. Her name is Queen.
Title.
So you are giving her a title Queen.
We don't use
Yeah.
Most of them is such right.
It should not
Also
be.
your wife,
Yeah.
when you married her, you love her, she was already a queen.
So you don't
say to my wife.
Good. There's no
Even the
emotional.
dedication,
She is from
my
the-
beloved
beloved.
parents.
She is from the royal family.
Yeah, but
Those titles.
Just
okay.
put it out.
Okay.
For now, it's not even advisable to say Mr. This or Mr. That. So
Okay.
put her name. Yeah, just put her name. So you remove that Queen and even if it were a title, why put a semicolon then? Queen this, not Queen.
Yeah.
Queen semicolon.
Yeah,
Put. So that's just at the level of just basic
Okay.
You
Inshallah.
need somebody to read very well, right?
for the purposes of grammar. It's very
Yeah,
necessary.
it's necessary to give it to somebody to read.
If the supervisor you have begun with
So God is not particular to you.
where now you begin with your supervisor, then the lecturers in the department, then before now you proceed to family and friends. You realize that it's after discussing family, your love for your father, mother, your wife, and every other person that you come now to acknowledge the lecturers. No. After
last
Yes, we came last.
we move to
then again,
Okay.
I express my no, I wish to express. I express my profound gratitude. I wish to. You
Continuously now.
You put his name in bracket. You shouldn't put his name in bracket if you are acknowledging him. What you need to do there is at Facebook cyber, comma, put his name, then you put his name, comma, then you proceed, not in that. But we'll move to the abstract after 10 minutes and have questions to ask.
Okay.
But your professors already very much appreciated the abstract, which I still think in relation to the findings. To make sure what is here, but assistance is fine.
Okay.
The only thing, my only worry there is at the end, when your results reveal that counseling does not prevent, it doesn't prevent students from being delinquent, it doesn't prevent students from having experience of early sexual
violence,
early sexual experiences, from violence. You proceed now again to make recommendation that if your results show that counseling does not, should we not go for something else other than counseling? Because already the schools you have dealt with, there are counselors tell you that they do not significantly prevent the students from doing that. You still go to recommend that there should be counselors in every classroom and so on and so. How would that work?
Yeah, to make it more effective, because the schools have the population is enormous. So
if you had indicated here that the problem is that there is either that is insufficient, that there are insufficient counselors in schools, and that is the reason why we have such results. I wouldn't ask the question I'm asking, because you wouldn't say that this particular method does not work, and then you go again to recommend that we should use that particular method. It's like it's counter.
it's it's just adding the counselors.
So is therefore necessary that you indicated that the problem is not that counseling will not do that. The problem is that the counselors involved are limits. They will be there. Before I enter into the technicalities of it, I would like us to go to the references. References, page 52.
Let me just come back. Let us go systematically, right?
Okay.
Yes, just to summarize what you have been saying with regards to the abstract, and also you organize your abstract in either the objective of the study, like opening statement, right? You indicate the problem, which can just be 2-3 lines. You indicate your sources, materials, and then you indicate your findings and prospects. If you can just get that, you get my copyright. Just follow that those directives, and I believe everything will be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then you go to page.
I'll come back. I always like to.
Structure.
So let's go again. We are still at the level of technicalities.
Yes.
Right. We go now to page 52. You realize that there is something called consistency when you are doing your work, the work of this nature. Now, if you begin somewhere along Makusu, then that by Margaret you need to remove by, then Dr. This you need to remove. Now you are writing the names and abbreviating after. So you should be able to, you should choose a set of full names and abbreviate consistent. You should be consistent. At some point you have an abbreviation before the name and so on. On page 54 there, SR Neto la la la, you need to remove that. Titles will not appear in this, or else you have to acknowledge every other person here with their titles.
Okay.
Good. Then now we go back to the general issue, to chapter 1. But again, I'm not going to. what caught my attention at this level was just your the words you use to qualify role. School counseling itself. What are the other factors that maintain discipline within the school? What will the role of the discipline master? Most important individual in the school, and counseling is the best method to enable students.
I've said one of the most important.
No, again, I'm calling your attention to the use of words.
Okay.
The moment you say counseling plays the most important, and then you say it is the best, then there's a problem. You should be able to indicate that it is one among
One of the best.
It's one among many. So that's why my question now came up there. In schools where there are no guidance counselors.
Yeah, I had that as a question.
What?
And it was among the topics that I was to even have a cross counseling or cross going to private school where there are no counselors and so on. But we realized that some of the principals, like in some of the religious schools, some of the principals, they have gone through this process. So they are maintaining, and then the other religious bodies, they have religious...
That's the reason why I was indicating that you're at the very beginning here, you already eliminate such factors. But if you go to private institutions where there are no official counselors, you will realize that there is more discipline in religious schools, for instance, right? And in private schools generally than in public schools, where it begs the question: why is it that where the people you are advocating for are actually present, there is more delinquency, and where there are no such people, there is order. So realize that there is, in terms of the leadership styles, discipline, and many other things. And I like the fact that you mentioned religious institutions. Religion plays a role from the perspective of morality, moral education, religious education, and all of that. We could do that. Then, why choose counseling?
On the topic, or because
as we already said, as we have discussed, and I believe there are other factors.
Yes.
There are other factors that could lead to the elimination or the reduction of the prevention of juvenile delinquency.
yeah, because counseling. First of all, in my observations, and also in studying counseling and so on, I've realized that they have a hidden role that they can play in the mentality of the students and so on, in orientations and so on. So also, the students are more acquainted, or they are more close to the counselors than any other personnel in the institutions. So these are among the things that I've realized, and this is why we choose farm counseling.
Okay. Well, again, as I said, I'm not entering into the technicalities of the work since I just had it today, but it's good to indicate in your write-up and in the recommendations that it's good to indicate whether counseling is one of many other, and it's not just the recommendations should not just end at the level of adding more counselors, but we should add more counselors in addition, right? By taking into consideration the more counselors and other factors that will help to prevent juvenile delinquency. Parents are of capital importance, and counselors are not just those that are official. Every teacher is supposed to be a counselor, every parent in the home a counselor, every society is supposed to play that role, so that the moment there is a certain collaboration between the home, the society, and the school, the juvenile delinquency will be eliminated.
Yes, but it's a complete issue. Now that I was dealing with the counselors,
At the level of recommendation, you cannot isolate only.
I have recommended. I've recommended the parents, and I mentioned their role, what they should do, the teachers, and even the school administrators. So the recommendations, they are all mentioned there, and their role to play, and how the counselor will collaborate with the students and the parents and the teachers and even the administrators and so on.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President, for that. For giving me the chance. I think I've used my time and I've interacted well with the students.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Examiner. Mr. Bikuri. Is it Bikuri or
Kudi Bira.
Sorry. There was one Bikuri up there. So with that Bikuri, yes, that's it. And so we have already worked with a lot of interest.
Okay.
And the theme is very, very topical. Okay. That's all. But I will take you to go to page 2.
Okay.
Go to page 2. Right? If you don't understand the problem, what motivated you to carry out this study? What were motivated? Why did you
The incidents that I am hearing and I'm seeing.
What were they?
Now,
What were they?
fighting and some of the cases of stabbing the teachers and so on.
Madam,
we have many cases
take your phone
that
outside, please.
we have cases where students lash a teacher and so on.
But I did not see. Yeah, I did not see. You did not state the problem, sir.
It's
You
mentioned.
state will practically know what is happening in the sea, right?
It's mentioned.
So
I
I was
mentioned it.
very impressed with your research questions on this. They were quite mature. Go on to your significance of the study. When you want to give a significance, right? You just say they will come to students. They will come to know the dangers of being juvenile, delinquent, and somehow you must link it to the study.
Yeah, it's linked.
How?
I have said it either through their teachers or by laying hands on this work.
Mr. Kudi, what I'm still saying is that based on this based on this problem, students will, based on the problem, he has outlined some limitations, right? Based on this limitation, students will be able, reading from your findings, also, soon be able to,
Yeah.
just state it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I should remove by laying.
You work out with
Okay.
your supervisor, right?
Okay,
You work out with your
inshallah.
supervisor. And then you go on to your literature review. Mr. Kudi, I did not see your objectives really, really visible in your literature review. I saw there are so many things you were discussing, which to the best of my knowledge, you have just gotten. We needed two basic concepts, right? School counsel, what is counseling? How we need it. And you are given the various embodiments of school counseling under that substance. Not that you give me this, you give me that, that was the problem. Secondly, we needed juvenile delinquency. What is juvenile delinquency all about? You needed to discuss and give us the various types of delinquencies that you can give your student also. And then again, you can explore the
I was not dealing with juvenile delinquency. I was dealing with that is preventing students from being juvenile delinquents.
You are working with juvenile delinquency. Have you ever seen it?
There is. Again, I indicated that because you cannot treat all the other factors and then come and treat the juvenile delinquency as if it's just one.
Yes.
So you realize that all the other things we have spoken of, rape and sexual violence and the rest, they fall under.
Yes.
So you should have discussed these points under juvenile delinquency.
Yeah.
So in that literature review, discuss counseling, then discuss juvenile delinquency. Under juvenile delinquency, then you discuss all the other.
Inshallah.
Okay, that's it, right?
Okay,
And then Mr. Kudi did not indicate, because if you even go on the definition of terms, right? You are defining so many terms. When you define a term, not so, you are supposed to tell us what is the take of this, or how is this work going to view this term. Because you might define this term here, and you don't tell me what your work is going to, is your work going to take it the way it is stated. Even when you come to your concepts and other things, you do not indicate what is the take of your study on the various concepts.
They are mentioned. There's no concept that has not been mentioned, the relation to the work. It is mentioned in the concept, also mentioned also in the discussions of findings. I've related.
You don't understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
Take for instance, you take on the concept of school counseling, right? You discuss that counseling is this, not so. When you finish discussing, you say, my work is going to, based on this argument, right? My work is going to take this as the meaning of counseling.
Okay.
You anchor your studies on a particular direction.
Okay.
Contextualize your study within what is happening, right?
I thought that if I define, it's already.
No, it's okay. We are trying to tell you.
Definition is always broad.
Broad, yeah.
After that, you take now a working definition.
Because I go to your findings, right? It does not agree with all these. I'll say it's not there. So you must take a stand, not so. And then with the various theories, why do you choose up to 8 theories?
Because they are all related to, they are interconnected to most of the.
Take one theory and two are connected to your.
Yes, the theory of Sigmund Freud.
Why is it
Yes,
related to?
that the sexual drive, and then you have the safe theory of.
No, what is my sexual drive?
Yes, because we have treated
I don't understand.
early sexual.
Expand on that.
Expand on
Yes,
that.
we have treated early
I want to know
sexual
whether you master it or
experience.
not. That's what I'm asking.
It's my work whether I master it or not.
Really?
Thank you, doctor. No, thank you, doctor. Anyway, I'm saying that
Go to page
it
12.
is
Go to page 12.
okay.
Sexting. What is my sexting?
Sexting is texting videos or images, nude images.
Page 12.
Is to send videos.
Sexting.
Yes, is to send videos of pornography and so on. I've defined it. It's defined there.
Okay. Members of jury, is there any other addition?
No,
It's just to encourage the student for him to not allow this work at this level. See how to make sure that you make your scores, you polish it up. And so that you see how to further it and make it.
Okay. Thank you.
Society can benefit, students can benefit, maybe through you, juvenile delinquency and all the other forms of violence and the rest will be reduced from our schools.
Thank you.
Mr. Kudi, we were asked to redo this work.
Okay.
What do you think you add, you subtract? You have to reduce after all this, contributions from the panel. What do you think you add?
I will start with the recommendations of the panel, and if there's anything related to that is necessary, then I can add.
You are just talking too broadly. Choose one recommendation.
Yeah, for now, I'll end up with the recommendations of the jury.
Like, for instance,
Yes, they have recommended some of the grammatical errors and some of the technicalities in the references,
conceptual,
and then
others.
relating.
Thank you. Take your team outside. Let's deliberate.
Okay. Remove the mic.
People can go and move outside. Just tell me.
They don't want the camera to understand what we're also doing here. So
The camera from us.
Anyway, tell me, come on, you've done all this.
Yes.
Or you can see it today.
Madam, can you go outside? Only members of jury can we start sitting like the middle of the door, please.
Adi, have you stopped the sound?
Mr. Yusuf Kudi Bira, you have successfully defended your MED thesis, accepted to offer you or to score you the grade of excellent.
Yes. Let's just take a picture and then.
That's all.
It's okay now.
I will just do the copy. You can feel our
Just feel.
when you get it. Yes, sir. Remember my excuse. No, they don't destroy, so we can
Inshallah, alhamdulillah, we have come to the end of our broadcast. I want to thank our televiewers that have been watching us through this defense of Sheikh Yusuf Kudi. Now we'll be coming on the screen to give us a short interview. Before then, I think I will have to interview some of the members of the jury before I end the program, inshallah. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. I'm here with the supervisor who supervised this project. As a supervisor, thanks for being in front of the microphone of ARTV. We wish to ask you, how have this work been so far? I mean, how hectic had it been so far?
All right, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be able to air my views on perhaps my working relationship with Mr. Kudi. In fact, I'm impressed that I was attached to him. I can say that. I'm impressed that I was attached to him because so far I wonder if I've worked with a Muslim yet. This is definitely the first. And as I said during the panel, the moment the original topic we had, honestly, we have changed that topic about twice. Just to tell you that we had so many challenges. Sometimes when we took a particular direction and we were going, we were also afraid that it was tilting towards a religion, and perhaps for public presentation, some people may have varied views. We had to strike that balance before we landed on this final topic. So you were witnesses, you saw it go through, and the only thing I can say is that we thank God that finally he has made it. I'm glad he made it with an excellent grade. I just hope that he'll be able to move to the last stage of applying and of enrolling and finally obtaining a PhD. Possibly because it's a topic that can help to curb down some of the juvenile delinquencies that we actually have in our society. It really needs in fact, research really needs to help us so that the society can get better again.
MashaAllah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr.
You're
Supervisor.
welcome. You're welcome.
MashaAllah, that was the supervisor. I think I will also want to hear a word from a family member, Abdulaziz, who will be coming over to the microphone to express his view on this defense program that have just finished with an excellent mark.
MashaAllah.
So what do you have to say concerning this?
First of all, it is a very great day. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. This is a milestone for the entire family. My warmest profound congratulations to Sheikh Yusuf. We are proud of him as a family, and I'm sure his mother, who is my grandmother, and our grandfather too.